So I think I told you this. We talked about this before. This whole wrongful conviction space, I got into it because of Rubin's story.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yes. I was like 19 or something, and I watched The Hurricane, and I read The 16th Round, and couldn't believe his... you know what I couldn't believe, actually? I couldn't believe that a celebrity could be wrongfully convicted. The fact that he was a famous boxer and got wrongfully convicted, to me, was like it could happen to anyone. And I was so young that I thought cops were all good guys. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, he was a black celebrity in Patterson.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Yes.
If he was a white celebrity in Patterson or a black celebrity perhaps in Manhattan, it might not have happened.
Yes.
But Patterson at that time was a very racially divided city. They didn't care who you were.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it could certainly happen to a guy who could have been the middleweight champion of the world for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I knew you for a while before I learned that you knew Rubin.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it because I was dying to talk to him and interview him. And I was only in a room with him once, and that was when I lived in Toronto, and I didn't have the guts to.
So you even lived in Toronto?
I lived in Toronto.
Oh
yes,
my gosh! So that's his home base. And,
and then I was in a room with him because I went to a talk show that he was interviewed at, and I didn't have the guts, and I didn't talk to him, and I never ever met him.
It's tough because he was one of a kind. He was a very, for a boxer, a very gentle soul.
Yeah.
You know, and he always said, like, I left it in the ring. That's awesome. That's where I got all of that out.
Yeah.
You know, and then when he was picked up and wrongfully convicted, he spent a lot of time in meditation in solitary.
Yeah.
And he was just a very spiritual person that way, not to any particular religion, but just to kind of, be in control of your own self, very mindful.
Yeah.
And a big believer in, you can heal yourself meditating. That's how he got through it, quite frankly, and that's how he helped so many others who were incarcerated, who were innocent. Like, how do I survive? And it's like, you've got to really stay inside yourself, focus on your case, believe in yourself, and keep that spirituality.
Yeah.
So he was a really, lovely, deep person. And it's certainly one of the privileges of my life to have gotten to call him a friend and work with him on a case, and just tremendous. I couldn't believe it.
How did you first meet him?
So I had exonerated somebody in my first exoneration, Angelo Martinez.
Okay.
Was in like 2006, and it was not a big deal.
Yeah.
It was not like now where you heard about it like almost once a week across the country.
Yeah.
Back then it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll put it to this way. We were on the Today Show with Matt Lauer, rest in peace. And it got national attention.
Yeah.
Angelo was, exonerated after 18 years in prison. And so it got a lot of press.
Yeah.
So the day after I was on the Today Show, I get a call. My secretary says, Rubin Hurricane Carter's on the phone. I'm like, okay, which, one of my idiot friends. So I pick up the phone and I say, okay, which one of my asshole friends is this?
No, you didn't.
Yes. And then I heard, excuse me? I go, who is this? He goes, this is Dr. Rubin Hurricane Carter. Is this Oscar Michelen? I go, is this really Dr. Carter? And he goes, yes, I'm calling from Toronto. Did your secretary not tell? I said, I'm sorry about what I had just said. He goes, I don't know what was going on. He goes, have I got the right person? I said, have I got the right person?
Yeah.
So he said to me, I saw what you did on Angelo Martinez. There's a case that I want you to look at.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah.
Can I send you the file? And I'm like, I'm still waiting for the cameras. Like, come on. I said, yeah, absolutely. So he sent me the files. And I looked at David McCallum and Willie Stuckey's case, and I called him back. And then I said, by the way, I didn't say anything. I was flabbergasted, but, you're an icon to me. He goes, okay, we can get through that.
It's the worst opening ever for this great phone call.
Exactly. Later on, he's like, well, I'm that way too, so I appreciate it. So he said, what do you think? So I said, well, look, he definitely didn't get a fair trial. His lawyer was terrible. His lawyer was horrible.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not interested in that. Do you believe he's innocent?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I didn't really look at it that angle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He said, no, we're not appeal lawyers. I work for I have an innocence organization in Canada, and this young man reached out to me. We need a New York lawyer because, I don't want to tell you what I think. You take a look at it again. Call me back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I dug in and I called him back. I said, yeah, he's innocent. I think he's innocent.
Mm-hmm.
I think Willie's innocent too. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm glad to hear. He said, because I think both boys were innocent. I said, yes, so do I. He goes, okay, let's pick a date. Let's go talk to him in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear, I was like, teenage idol. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to a prison with Hurricane Carter.
Yeah,
I just
my
couldn't.
goodness.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And we visited David.
Yeah.
We agreed to take the case, and then that was it. And then, throughout that whole time, we obviously remained in contact. I updated him. He had gotten sick, so he wasn't always coming down to participate on the case.
Yeah.
But he spoke a lot in New York. He published this book that's in front of us.
Yeah.
So he had a little book tour. So we physically got together when he came for his book tour.
Yeah.
And things like that. And he, was very sharp about the case.
Yeah.
So there was always, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And there was this one witness that we had been trying to locate and convince to see if she would talk to us. And it was a hard time getting her to talk. We finally got her to talk. And she gave us, a really big piece of information that I think ultimately helped us exonerate David and Willie. And, Rubin called me and left me like 4 voicemail messages, Oscar, I'm ecstatic. I knew it. You're like a dog on a bone. I'm like, and all that stuff. He was always very involved in the case, and really believed in David's innocence and gave David hope. And Willie had passed away in prison, which is why I'm only talking about David.
Yeah.
We exonerated him posthumously.
Okay. Okay.
But, Rubin also just gave us a lot of insight, about the mindset of someone who's wrongfully incarcerated, how to keep David's spirits up.
Yeah.
He communicated with David a lot.
Yeah.
And it was even chance. So David was in prison in a law library. He had finished the research he was doing on his case, and a buddy of his was still looking at something. And so he said, let me stick around the law. I'd rather be in the law library than back at the cell.
Yeah.
He says, what do you got there? And he gave him a magazine called The Sun, which is from Canada.
Yep.
And Ken Klonsky had invited Rubin to his class to speak to his. He had been teaching disadvantaged youth, and he thought, who better for them to get a message about rising above than Rubin.
Yeah.
And Rubin agreed to go to the class.
Yeah.
And Ken, has written a couple of books with Rubin and about Rubin, and they became lifelong friends. So David saw that article and said, let me write this guy Ken Klonsky and see if I can get Rubin to help me on the case.
Yeah.
And so David started a relationship with Ken. Ken's son then gets in trouble at 16.
Mm-hmm.
David was incarcerated at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought, listen, you think you're some young tough in Toronto.
Yeah.
You should write this guy. So David and Ray started a pen pal relationship.
Yeah.
And then Ray went on to become a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And made a movie about David's case.
Yes.
And helped us exonerate him. He was with us every step of the way during the investigation.
Yeah.
And so it was really a remarkable thing that David just said, let me read this Canadian newspaper.
Yeah.
It happened to have an article. He didn't say, oh, there's an article about Rubin, let me read it. No, he just said, let me find something to pass the time.
Yeah.
He had put all his legal books away.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to let him sit there not reading. So he said, let me just read this while you finish your legal work.
Yeah.
And it changed his life and my life.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was just meant to be.
Yeah, that's so crazy. What year was this that you met Rubin?
Wow, when would that be? I'm trying to think. So it was probably around 2008, 2007, 2008, yeah. And we exonerated David in 2014.
After Rubin passed?
Rubin died in April. We walked David out of prison in October. We came very close.
Yeah.
But even there, Rubin's last act was to write a letter that he published, the Daily News published, and then went around the world. It ended up getting reprinted maybe in 40 other countries. And he said, Rubin Carter's last wish. He knew he was dying.
Yes.
And it was written to the Brooklyn DA, a guy named Ken Thompson, a great guy.
Yeah.
But it was written to the world, but directed at Ken,
Yeah.
saying, look at this.
Yeah.
He said, my dying wish is to see David walk free.
Yeah.
And, it happened.
You got to do that.
He got to do it, and he, unfortunately, we came so close to doing it while he was still alive, unfortunately, but the cancer was just too much.
What did that mean to you to be able to do that? That's something he started.
Oh, I really can't explain it. Just to have the connection with him, just to have, like you, I would have been happy just to have met him.
Yeah.
And just talk to him for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get an autograph, and I'd have been good. Hey, I met,
Yes.
And
this hero.
retroactively, I've gotten to appreciate it more because I got involved in the wrongful conviction community because of Angelo's case, and really because of David's case.
Yeah.
And he's the godfather of the wrongful conviction movement.
Right.
I did a seminar for the National Bar Association to talk about the life and trials of Rubin Hurricane Carter, because I had felt that people have forgotten his story, which is crazy because Denzel was nominated for an Oscar. Bob Dylan had a #1 song over it.
Yes.
He's a legend to those of us who know him.
Yeah.
Know his stature.
Right.
I've seen him speak, in auditoriums and fill up, theaters, and people who know him know who he is and what he's done for the innocent. But the vast majority of young lawyers have no idea. I've even gone to the Innocence Conference,
Yes.
and talked about it, and they're like, "Oh, who's Hurricane Carter?"
And that happens to me when I mention him too, all the time.
Doesn't it drive you nuts?
Yeah, it drives me nuts, but it's because we're older.
Yeah, is that what? Well, listen, if you're older, what am I? Dinosaur age. But it's like, quite frankly, none of y'all would be here.
Right.
He started
Yes.
the first Innocence Project.
Yes.
Aidwick, and it's now turned into Innocence Canada.
Yep.
But before there was Rubin, there was no organization that was focusing on the wrongfully convicted. And again, to start what you had said, the fact that he was a prominent boxer, and that he could be railroaded.
Exactly.
Shows you how prevalent it was back then,
Yes.
And,
Yes.
he really brought that attention to the case.
Yes.
I always try to remind people that even after he was famous and his case was famous, he still didn't get it done. Everyone points to the Bob Dylan song, Hurricane that brought all the attention. But that petition that was pending, Rubin lost. Mm-hmm. So Dylan's help got his name out there and all of that,
right?
But it didn't exonerate him.
Right.
Rubin then had to do it again himself to write to a federal judge for a federal habeas petition, and it was Judge Sorokin reading papers that Rubin and legendary lawyer Myron Beldock drafted that got it done. It was lawyering, and the reason why Rubin went to Canada after he got out was because it was originally a young Canadian kid who took an interest in Rubin's case, got Canadian lawyers, and then he brought Myron Beldock, onto the case at the end. And so he always felt he owed it to them to go to Canada.
Right.
Plus, he's an outdoor. You wouldn't know it from Paterson, New Jersey. Like, he loves the Western. He's always in a cowboy hat. Loves riding horses. That's just a weird thing about him.
Have you been to Paterson and to the area?
Oh yeah, I went to the crime scene. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
So I did too when I first started filmmaking, got my first camera. So I went there and filmed all the locations just to have it, just because I have never done anything with it. But
I went when I was getting ready to do this talk about him.
Yeah.
And I had some old archival pictures, whatever. But like, I always tell when I teach trial advocacy, it's so different to go to the location.
Yes.
To get an idea of what it actually was and looked like.
Yes.
Even if it's changed, the streets don't get rearranged or relined up. maybe there's a new bar where the old bar was, but generally speaking, that building was there. You know, so I had the archival photographs,
Yeah.
and I did want to just delve into what was that neighborhood like,
Yes.
you know, and what it looked like, you know.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so Rubin, you know, Rubin was amazing and very, very, you know, he very rarely had light conversations. You know, he was just always so deep.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember we were walking in to see David for the first or second time. I can't remember which one it was. I just casually asked him. I said, you know, how does it feel, you know, going back into a prison?
Right.
You know, after all this time.
Right.
And he grabbed me by the arm and he goes, Oscar, do you know something I don't know? I said, what are you talking about? I said, he said, are we not walking out? I said, yes, we're walking. He goes, Dad, it's just a building.
Yeah.
He said, Dad, it's just a building. He said, you got me scared. I thought you knew something. So he said, you know, it's a prison not just for the people who reside there, but for the people who work there.
Right.
He goes, they are just as incarcerated in their minds and their hearts as the residents of the facility are.
Why though?
He said because they're miserable.
Yeah.
It's not a rewarding. You know, he said we don't treat it as like a rewarding career.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know what? You talk to a correction officer, and what are they doing? They're marking time till they retire.
Yeah.
They go in.
Right.
They don't feel they're contributing to society. Like, you know, a police officer every once in a while, you know, will save a cat up a tree.
Yeah.
He'll grab somebody out of a burning building. He'll
Yeah.
give a birth to a baby in a taxi cab.
Right. Right.
These people just see people come in,
Yeah.
people come out, people come in.
Yeah.
And they live in the county where the prison is,
Yeah.
not where these people come from.
Right.
So they feel they're just containing these people from society.
Yeah.
And it's not a rewarding experience.
Right.
And, you know, it's funny. A very good friend of mine, Boz Dreisinger, wrote this great book called Incarceration Nations about
Yeah.
prison systems that work better than ours, which you probably every other prison system practically.
Mm-hmm.
But, and the reason why Norway has one of the lowest levels of recidivism and a very safe prison population is correction officer in Norway is a very valued job. They're well paid. You have to have a college degree.
Yeah.
And you are told that you are part of the rehabilitative process.
Right.
So they refer to each other by first name.
Yeah.
The residents call the guards by their first name, and the guards call the residents by the first name. If you ever go into a New York prison, that's never
right.
the case. You
Yeah.
know, you're either a number or if you're lucky, the last name.
Yeah.
At best, you
Yeah.
know. And they participate in the training. So, for example, there's a program in South Africa where inmates can learn the law. They
Yeah.
become a paralegal,
Yeah.
and they actually become a lawyer.
Yeah.
But the program succeeds because the program is also open to the guards. And so the guards
That's interesting.
can sit and take classes in the law with the inmates. And and that program has exonerated thousands, not hundreds,
Yeah.
thousands of people
Yeah.
because they work on each other's cases.
Yeah.
And they're able to get discovery. They had no idea how to get discovery. They had no idea how to make speedy trial motions and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And when they did, the court said, yeah, and has granted a lot of those motions. And many folks have gone on to become lawyers from there, paralegals.
Yeah.
But the guards have too. And here's the interesting dynamic. When they came to a New York prison in Sing Sing to talk about the program, okay, he asked, like, can the guards sit and don't, like, they were all standing.
Yeah.
He said, you guys are welcome to
Sit. Yeah.
sit. This program is open to guards. And they're like, yeah, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It's
They
crazy.
wouldn't budge. So I think that is really what Rubin was talking about, is that they don't feel they have a real role
Right.
in society. And then that is a self-fulfilling cycle because they
Yeah.
don't treat the residents with respect.
Yeah, for sure.
They become criminalized. You know, the residents like feel angry towards the guards and,
Yes.
you know, what am I doing here? You know, and it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cyclical thing. Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. Once you got to know Rubin, I guess prior to knowing him, whatever your perception of him was, and once you got to know him, what was shocking or different about him?
Yeah, what was shocking was his sense of humor.
Yeah.
that he laughed all the time. The movie portrays him as a pretty serious guy.
Right.
I don't think Denzel smiles very much in the movie at all. And as you can see from the photograph, this is Rubin's default state.
Yeah.
Really, this is his default state.
Yes.
Just joyous.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest surprise, because first he's a boxer.
Yeah. The smile is like childlike.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's him saying, "I want coffee." That's him saying good morning.
Yes.
And that was what the biggest surprise was.
Yes.
And I guess also, I kind of knew that from reading the 16th Round, the spirituality side of him.
Yeah.
This book here also explores that, because he talks about using like the mind's eye to get out of prison. The other thing too was how devoted he was to the case. Even when I originally got involved, I figured I'd be mostly dealing with Ken Klonsky, and but Rubin was not having that. He wanted to work directly on the case.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, he was one of a kind. I mean, it's a real loss.
Yeah.
And what he did to exonerate himself, is just amazing, and never giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he make of? Did he ever? I'm sure he did probably talk to you about initially these like random Canadian strangers just coming to his aid.
Yeah, well, like so many people who are wrongfully incarcerated, like, I'll take what I could get.
Yeah.
And the most important thing to him was that they were sincere.
Yeah.
They weren't looking for anything.
Yeah.
And they provided an outlet, for him.
Yeah.
And I think, most people forget that prison is extraordinarily lonely, and, you're very limited in the communication that you could really have. It's expanded now. New York State has tablets that you can have if you have good behavior. That has really helped a lot with the prison population, that they can reach out to people and have more regular communication. I can send clients photos. I can send them documents.
Yeah.
We can, email, communicate with each other, and they can do that with family.
Yeah.
And I think, and now the governor just passed that phone calls are free.
Yeah.
So before, phone calls used to be prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
Yep. A 2-minute call to your mom was like $20. So now that's certainly expanded. But when Rubin was in prison, and when most of my clients started their prison terms, it's a very isolating thing. Never mind that Rubin spent many years in solitary because he refused to wear a prison uniform. He was such a hard ass. He was such a hard ass. That was the dichotomy. The guy was a hard ass.
Good for him, though.
Yeah, but that's that combination of the boxing, I guess, and the physical fitness.
Yes.
He's like, I don't want anything from you.
Yes.
Not even this uniform. I'm not an inmate.
Right.
I'm innocent.
He didn't do anything.
And I'm I'm not doing it. You know?
Yeah.
And it was actually a prison guard who finally convinced them to put, well, if you've seen the movie,
Yeah.
Like, put some jeans on, man. We'll do it right. You know?
Right.
You're not helping yourself.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was, something that made Rubin say, okay, I can go back into the general population.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he also taught me that, and matched what we see. You deal with a lot of folks who've been exonerated.
Right.
You saw the dedication to their case. These are not guys who are really doing anything but in the law library, researching the case, trying to send out hundreds of letters. So, Rubin was the same. So when people wrote back and said, yeah, we'll look into it, and then at the end, when he got, Myron Beldock, was a legendary New York lawyer, to help, that was the last piece of the puzzle that he needed.
Yeah.
Myron, working with the Canadians, was the one who drafted and got the final habeas petition granted.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's it's remarkable.
Yeah.
And so he also I think it's just a shame that he was taken from us so young, because he had a lot of energy before he got sick. He's a tireless dude.
For sure. I mean, you can tell.
And and then just the illness just got to be too much. Unfortunately, he couldn't travel. I was privileged to be at, I think, was his last speaking engagement, it was a fundraiser and to raise awareness for Leonard Peltier, who finally got released recently under President Biden. But Rubin was the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was jam-packed with celebrities.
Yeah.
Common, Mos Def, Pete Seeger, Jackson Brown. It just went on and on and on. They all wanted to meet Rubin. They were only interested in meeting Rubin. Rubin was very sick, took a lot of him, very tired. He was in this little room, and had his notes, And so I went up to see him, and I said, "Hey, Rubin, there's a bunch of people, who want to say hi before you speak." And I told him, he goes, "Nah, man." He said, "I need all my energy to give this speech." He goes, "Afterwards, if I'm up for it, of course I'll do it. But I got to be alone. Don't let anybody come up here. I need to be by myself. I need to, I need every ounce of energy to pull this off." So then he came down to speak. He was there with John Artis, his co-defendant. He went out to the podium to speak and brought the house down. I don't know where he found his energy. He, the organizer of the event said, "He's going on a little bit longer. We got to get him off. We're very limited on time." And I said, "Look, this could probably be his last speech. Let him go."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, listen to the crowd." He had the crowd chanting, justice. And he was driving them insane, in a frenzy. And he goes, "I couldn't pull him off now anyway." And then eventually they had artists go out. And just say, "Hey, So then he introduced John and talked about whatever. And he got the hint, But it was an amazing speech. And then he came back and he mingled, and Harry Belafonte was there. And they all wanted to meet Rubin. And he posed for some pictures. But then he was just exhausted. And that was the last time I saw him. And he died not long after that. But the last thing that he did that we worked on, and Ken really principally was the guiding force behind, was that letter that got published on David's behalf. That was really his last public act.
I was going to ask you if you knew John Artis. Also.
I'd met him a couple of times.
Okay.
Very different than Rubin. Just as innocent. A big guy. A big guy. And also very, very gentle giant, and loved women. Was always interested in who was single and who wasn't single. Which Rubin was never came out of Rubin's mouth. I never had that conversation with him. But very social guy, more social than Rubin, I would say. But less public. He didn't want that, but completely devoted to Rubin.
He was such a solid human. They were so young, and he had the chance to implicate Rubin.
Never did it.
Chose not to. And how old was he
Many
at that
times,
time?
in his 20s. Many times was offered all along the way. Just say it was Rubin. Just say it was Rubin. And he was like, "We weren't there.
Not true.
Rubin wasn't there." It was not ever like, "Oh, gee, what am I going to do?" He was always solid, like, "Well, it's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to lie to put Rubin in." But even after that, helped take care of Rubin, at the end. Was always there for Rubin. Never, it was frickin' frack. And, he really, didn't get a lot of attention. Because he was also railroaded, He was also railroaded. But he also felt like I wouldn't have gotten out if it wasn't for Rubin,
Sure.
So.
It goes to speak, obviously, to his character as a person, but it's shocking almost because they didn't really know each other when this crime happened.
They barely knew each other.
They barely knew each other, right? It was just like some guy offering some guy a ride.
Guys from the neighborhood, you know. No, they knew who each others were, certainly.
Right.
Like an
acquaintance.
But they weren't, super tight buddies that
Yes.
were always together.
Exactly.
That type of thing.
So for him to not do it to someone who's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
I don't really even know you.
He owes them nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't like his best buddy.
Exactly.
Or someone he felt was family.
Yes.
No, they were just casual acquaintances from the neighborhood, more
and
or
it's
less.
his whole life ruined, and so
and it was so Patterson was a very racially divided town. There were black bars, there were black neighborhoods.
Yep.
And obviously Rubin was the king of the black community.
Right.
In Patterson, having won so many fights and just been known as someone who could take the title. For example, the guy who ended up winning the middleweight crown, Emil Griffith, Rubin kicked his ass in the fight before.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of his last fights before the arrest, and so Rubin was certainly well known in the community, and he was also very active in the racial justice events that were going on in the community.
Yeah.
It was a very volatile time with civil rights still.
Yeah.
And so, he was kind of targeted as a vocal person to kind of put down.
Yeah, I see.
And that contributed to his getting arrested, which also kind of, Artis wasn't that.
Yeah.
So, you could see where he might be better saying, man, if you just kept your mouth shut, stayed in line, maybe we wouldn't have been targeted,
Yeah.
But just happened to get in the same car on the same night, and then there you go, lost, decades of his life.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Even like the best of someone, like any human who's a great person could weigh it and be like, I don't really know him, and I'm only 20, and it's my entire life.
He probably did it.
I'm gonna make this. Yeah,
right?
or maybe
he might have done it.
Yeah.
So
he knew he didn't because he was with him, right?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But you could still calculate that.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to lose my entire life.
Yeah.
I barely know this guy.
Sure.
But he just was so solid that was not an option for him.
I mean, you and I have seen cases where not only has the person falsely confessed about themselves, but implicated an innocent co-defendant. So it happens. We know what the pressure that you could put on somebody to say, just say this and you're going to go walk away.
Yeah.
Many times they'll think like, well, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to prove my and my friend's innocence somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
I just got to get out of this room right now.
Yes.
Because I may die in this room if I don't.
Yeah.
And so we've seen that,
100%.
So it wouldn't have been out of the realm of possibility for artists just to say, okay, fine, what do you want to know?
Exactly.
And then we'll deal with it later.
Especially being that young and everything.
Well, the case, as a matter of fact, that Rubin helped us on, David McCallum and Willie Stuckey, they each confessed against each other. It's a perfect example. I mean, I mentioned it off the top of my head, but not really thinking about it, because what the police there did was neither of them, this was involved a daylight carjacking that led to a subsequent murder.
Yeah.
And what happened was the two young boys, they were 16 at the time, were told that they had the goods on the other guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that they know that the other guy did it. All you got to do is say you were there when you saw him kill the boy, the victim, Nathan Blenner.
Yeah.
And we're going to let you go.
Mm-hmm.
So they're quote-unquote, confessions, which were never signed, but were videotaped. One of the first videotaped confession cases. They don't ever say they pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
So, to call them a confession, they didn't think they were confessing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't say, I shot the guy.
Yeah.
They said, I saw Willie shot the guy, and Willie said, I saw David shoot the guy.
Yeah.
So there you could kind of see where, like, because most people think, well, why would I think I was going home if I confessed to a murder?
Yeah.
Because they said, I'm not confessing to a murder.
Yeah.
They didn't know the felony murder rule.
Yeah.
They thought that they just had to say they were present.
Right.
Right. And so you saw there where there was physical coercion in that case. There were false promises, obviously. They lied to them about the evidence.
Yeah.
They did the old, Willie said you did it.
Yeah.
They had, before Willie confessed, he was the first to allegedly give the statement. They had said that David ratted him out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, which was not true. They hadn't even spoken to David yet.
Right.
But now, once Willie confessed, they brought Willie into the room and showed, and they said, "Who's that?" He said, "That's David McCallum."
Yeah.
And the cop went in and said, "You see, Willie sold you down the river. but we know Willie did it. He's just trying to protect himself.
Right.
So they could have done the same thing to artists.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yes.
have all kinds of techniques that the police use to make you say something that you didn't do.
For sure.
You know, and DNA has proven that innocent people confess to crimes all the time. So artists could have certainly, you know, broken down, but he never did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never
Which
did. It was unwavering.
says a lot about him. Did Rubin ever talk to you about the hurricane and with his thoughts on the film?
Oh, yeah. Oh, all the time. Hurricane. It always, yeah. He, well, first I've seen him speak publicly a lot of times.
Yeah.
He almost always started his speech with a joke saying, I didn't know how good looking I was until I saw myself on the screen in my movie. And everybody laughs. That's his opening line.
Yeah.
He said, man,
That's
he
awesome.
said, if you're in the audience,
Yeah.
whether you're white, black, male, or female, and they decide to make a movie on your life,
Yeah.
may I suggest to you to get Denzel Washington to play you? He said, because, you know, he's just so good looking on the screen.
Yeah.
He told me a story that he occasionally also told in public. So they wanted, you know, Denzel wanted to meet him, know his mannerisms
Yeah.
and all of that. He said, went out to dinner with him, just me and him.
Yeah.
He said, I wasn't even hearing what Denzel was saying. Because I was looking across the table and saying, man, I never realized I'm a good-looking man. He said, then I made the mistake of getting up and going to the bathroom. I wash my hands. I look in the mirror. I'm like, oh, man. He said, oh, man, because I don't look anything like Denzel. You know, never mind, Denzel doesn't look like him.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was obviously thrilled.
Yes.
You know, and everybody, including Denzel, felt that Denzel got robbed that year and should have gotten the
for sure.
Academy Award for
Yes.
the role. You know, but he felt that he got the story right. He had a very, you know, big role in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he said he always envisioned that, you know, the story would make a good film.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm of the belief that every wrongful conviction is a movie. You know,
100%.
Right? You could, you know, you've been involved in the field, so you know
Yes.
that you could grab one at random.
Yes.
And there's not one that
Literally
is
at
not a
random.
compelling story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but it got that treatment.
Yeah.
You know, that it wasn't just kind of a B movie.
Yeah.
You know, he was very proud of the fact that it was Academy Award
Yeah.
who ended up getting an Academy Award down the road, was nominated.
Yeah.
And, you know, he just felt that it was true to his story.
That's great.
And, yeah, he was very, very proud of that. And he used that often as that foil to warm people up.
Yeah.
You know, it was either that line or the other line when he wanted to be serious. Rubin would say, I'm here to talk about the American so-called criminal justice system.
That's very accurate.
And that's just every time. Sometimes when Ken and I would be in the same room watching him speak, whatever, and he was about to say it, you know, Ken would look at me and mouth. He knew what was coming. The
Yes.
American, he would go, so-called
Yeah.
criminal. And we would just laugh to each other, you know,
Yes.
because Rubin was very powerful about that, you know, about the need for reform in the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
Obviously, how it targets, you know, minorities, principally at that time, you know, African-American men. How the prison system doesn't do anything that the prison system says it should do.
Yeah.
It's just a place to cage
Yeah. It
to
doesn't
cage
rehabilitate.
people.
Yes.
It's not interested in rehabilitation. It's not interested in reducing recidivism.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's just a self-perpetuating, you know, cycle of, you know, basically inhumanity
Yeah.
and, you know, unconstitutional, you know,
Yes.
conduct. And he was just glad to have survived it.
Of
You
course.
know, period, end of story. Just like
Of course.
I was able to exonerate myself, and thank God that, and John, and thank God that I, you know, the prison system didn't kill me first. You know,
Yeah.
in one way, either kill you physically or emotionally.
Yeah.
You know, take your will, take your hope. You know, you can
Yeah.
despair.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing for folks who are incarcerated that are innocent is to keep up the fight because it is such a battle. Look how many times, you know, Rubin was tried several times.
Yeah.
Filed many motions, you know, and was unsuccessful.
Yeah.
And many folks would have just given up.
Oh, everything is set up to make you fail at that, at exonerating yourself. It's an uphill battle with and especially for innocent people. It's almost like it's just not even built for there to be a space for you.
No.
Like any legal avenues. And it's crazy. It's crazy.
No, the system, the system values finality.
Mm-hmm.
We're working now with a coalition that includes members of the Innocence Project, Vocal New York, and other justice organizations to try to change the law on 440 motions, which is the New York statute, to, for example, make it clear when a judge should order a hearing. Many times now, judges just don't order a hearing, and you're denied without even ability to try to prove your case.
Right.
Try to make it more common. The statute already allows a judge to appoint an attorney if they see fit. They rarely do. So we're trying to change the statute to show the judge when they should, and so that when a judge reviews, because so many folks file, pro se motions on their own.
Yes.
Sometimes handwritten, or hand typed on a prison typewriter.
Yep.
And judges just, like, come on.
Yeah.
What am I doing? But they've raised issues that are entitled to a hearing.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get the law changed because it is so difficult to get heard.
Yeah.
And, we're working now on the civil case of a guy named J.J. Velasquez, who was a long history of trying to exonerate himself. He had filed 2 very, very strong 440 motions that were denied without even a hearing. And then in the end, when he was exonerated by DNA, it went back to the same judge who had denied him twice before, and the DA this time was consenting.
Yeah.
So the judge, had to grant the motion, basically. But the judge advised the lawyers before that hearing that he was not going to let anybody speak on the record and say anything other than yes or no, and that included JJ.
Why?
And so,
Just...
why?
Okay.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. And there's no answer to that question.
Okay.
And so they were forced to have a very short little public hearing where the judge basically said, have you filed the motion to vacate the conviction?
Yes.
Yes. My understanding is that, the people of the state of New York are conceding, correct? Yes. And that once it's granted, you're going to dismiss the indictment, correct? Yes. Okay, so based upon that, I'm going to vacate the conviction. It's like, here's a man who you yourself denied, now exonerated by DNA. Never mind, you should apologize to him.
For
right?
sure.
We're not getting that.
Yeah.
Right? We're not
Yeah.
getting that.
Yes.
We should get that.
Yes.
We're not getting that. But at the very least, you don't give him the grace
To speak.
to just say, finally,
Yeah.
thank
Yes.
thank the DA
Yes.
for joining the application,
Yeah.
or even saying, like, the system sucks, like give him the right to
or
say,
even just being grateful for my freedom, just anything.
or the right to be angry and say,
Yes.
you know what, Your Honor, I was screwed over time and time again.
Yes.
This is a long time coming, but we should
Yes.
look at the system. Let him say whatever he wants to say, for
Anything.
crying out loud.
Yes,
The system
anything.
obviously destroyed this man's life. You're not
Yes.
going to give him 2 minutes.
Yes.
It just shows you how the system is just really geared towards keeping people in.
Yes. Yes.
And they value finality. Look at, again, with Rubin. If you're not that strong, that you fight and fight and fight, so I've had the privilege of exonerating 9 people in 8 cases. Not one of them was at the first motion.
Right. Right.
When they came to me. Okay? Or I had done more than one motion.
Yeah.
Not one of them won on their first attempt
Yeah.
to exonerate themselves.
Right.
All of them had previously presented evidence and fought and tried to get it done.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, were denied.
Yeah.
Judges disbelieved them. They thought they were intimidating witnesses.
Right.
They didn't think they had put enough at the table to get a hearing.
Yeah.
And then we found even more evidence and then finally get a hearing,
Yeah.
where the first one should have been enough all along. So I don't know of any one of my clients who successfully won the very first time that they brought their application. It took Rubin, 3, 4 times
Right.
to get justice.
Yes.
And, you know, that's why it just takes a lot of fortitude.
Yeah.
And that's where we go back to when you said how he felt about someone in Canada. Having somebody on the outside to kind of keep
For
you
sure.
going.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
For sure. For sure.
And you see that no bitterness, right? You know, like even Rubin,
Oh, yeah.
as much of an advocate as he became for the criminal justice system, it
Yes.
wasn't from a bitterness point of view. It was from, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. People should know.
Yeah.
You know?
That shocks me every time. Because anybody who hasn't been through it, I haven't been through it, I would assume I would be bitter. But
Yeah.
not one of these people I've met who've been exonerated are bitter, which is,
Yeah.
it shocks me every time.
I know.
Yeah, it's amazing and beautiful.
Yeah, and it's helped me. It's helped me a lot of times. I'm like, what am I complaining about, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the car wash didn't really do a good job on my back window.
Yeah.
Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Like, what did I just say?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it really, you know, it's like, all right, you know, keep it in perspective, dude.
Yes.
Keep it in perspective, you know.
Yes.
And I almost think, like, every lawyer should go to the Innocence Conference just once.
Yes.
And certainly every judge should go to the
Yes.
Innocence Conference
Yes.
or handle a wrongful conviction case
Yes.
just once.
Yes.
Because every case, just like Rubin's, it's never just about that case.
Yeah.
You know, Rubin's case obviously exposed the systemic, you know, racism
Yeah.
in both the prosecutor's office and the police department, you know, in Patterson and in the court system.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just about Rubin's case,
Yeah.
you know. And then, you know, other cases like the film you did about Jeff Deskovic shows about, you know, police bias,
Yeah.
coerced confessions, you know,
Yeah.
how we treat young people.
Yeah.
And it's why we've talked about how every wrongful conviction case is actually a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's never about, oh, sure, in that instance that
Yes.
happened. It's always about some systemic problem.
Yes.
Often
Multiple.
that we don't, multiple.
Yes.
Right, that we don't, you know, one of which I had in all of my cases is that we don't put enough money in indigent defense.
Yeah.
You know, and that if these young men had good counsel at
Yeah.
the time of their initial trial,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have gotten convicted wrongfully or otherwise.
Right.
You know, and we just don't place any value on that. You know,
Yeah.
we don't honor legal aid lawyers who are doing
Right.
everything they can with, you know, much less resources. you
Yep.
know.